Okay, we kind of have a decent looking app where you could pass it off as a list-based app because there's a list of things and you know how to add more things. There's a button which summons a modal. Maybe now you can figure out how you want to use modals in your app, but it's not quite there. This is not what your list-based apps look like in iOS. A list-based app would actually look something perhaps like the settings app. Let's head over to the settings app. And this is what it looks like, right? It's got some kind of header at the top. You can scroll, okay? And as you tap on each of these, it will show you more detail, okay? On a phone, this would be a single stack from top to bottom, and you tap on it and you would get the transition where the navigation stack brings in the next item. So let's see if we can get this style in. First thing we should do is we should get rid of the spacers over here, because we're not going to need them. So get rid of this spacer, get rid of this spacer. This button over here, well, we're going to get rid of it, but I'm just going to leave it here for now. And one thing you might not have noticed is that this navigation stack actually has an invisible V-stack built into it. So I'm going to actually go over here and bring something new in called a list. Okay, capital L-I-S-T, open curly brace. And I'm going to take this curly brace down here, cut it, and put it right after my button. Okay, so right after my button, I'm just going to put a closing curly brace. And notice how this whole thing changes in look entirely. And this is your standard iOS list. Okay, so let me just clear up some spaces over here. And there you go. Okay, this is your standard iOS list. Now it really looks and feels more like your list-based apps, correct? And this thing still works, but we're probably going to move this thing to the top bar over here. So speaking of which, there is something that's a little bit missing. If you go back to your settings app again, there's this little top bar over here. It's got the name of the screen that you're looking at. And we're going to bring that back as well. The way we do that is by using a modifier. The interesting thing about this modifier is that you don't attach this modifier to the navigation stack. You attach it to the first item inside the navigation stack. So you see over here, I used my trackpad and I double clicked on this opening curly brace. You can also tap on that opening curly brace to see the end of the list. So now scroll down. And this is where you attach the modifier. You can attach the modifier that says navigation title. And we're just going to give it a piece of text over here that says, well, this is hot chocolate recipes. You know what? Let's just use recipes. Okay. So navigation title recipes, okay, and it has this little view over here where it's a small title, and you might have seen it switch over to a big one just now. Not sure why it didn't, there we go, right? For some reason, it somehow decides that when it's longer, it should take up more space, okay? These are actually two distinct navigation title styles. We can actually toggle between them if we want to, okay? And you can do that by saying navigation title display mode, okay, dot inline. Dot inline means that it's going to be the smaller version, okay, and dot large is going to be the larger version. All right, so I'm going to keep it as dot large. I kind of like it. Okay, so I'm going to tap on this and you can see that it has this nice little animation where it moves the word up here, and now it also says recipes so that you know that when you go back, you're going back to the recipe screen. Okay, pretty nice. There's a few more modifiers I want to show you. You can actually do .list style. Okay, and there's a few list styles. There's automatic, which is the default. There's grouped. So grouped over here, you see it doesn't have this thing where it's got a bit of a padding from the side. The default just now is actually, I think, inset grouped. Okay, so inset grouped is the default. If you don't set a list style, you get inset grouped. But if you do .grouped, you get this style where it's actually just one entire row takes up the entire horizontal space. Okay, there's a few more. I think there's plain. And plain just means that, you know, well, there's no gray color background. It's just a list from top to bottom. Okay, so each of these has their own different look and feel. It's up to you. I'm just going to keep it at the default by removing this modifier, but you can adjust the list style if you want. Okay, so this is not bad. It's got this thing over here. You can go back and this thing still works. One thing is, I guess, these buttons, they don't really belong inside your lists, I feel. If they are inside, you usually don't have them with a bordered prominent style. So let me just remove this, see whether it looks any better. Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, it looks a little bit better. Another way to make this look and feel a bit better is to make it its own little section. So you can do that by typing in section, open curly brace, and then closing the curly brace after the button. And now it looks and feels a bit better, right? You can have this thing where you tap on this and it shows up and it's distinct from the actual recipes. Okay, so that's how you make buttons feel a little bit more natural in a list view. I do want to show you a different way of putting this button on screen, and that's by using the toolbar. Okay, so the toolbar is where you can put buttons. You might recall some apps where there are some buttons in the toolbar. In fact, you know what? This very app we're looking at, this is a toolbar right here. Okay, this is the navigation backwards and everything. These are the bar button items inside the toolbar. So I'm going to add one of these to this particular toolbar so that someone can tap on it and see the credits. Okay, so the toolbar is attached to the list as well. So let's try that. So I'm going to go down here, tap on .toolbar, open curly brace. Okay, and I'm just going to put in a button over here. So I'm going to copy this, Command C, and Command V over here. Okay, so what that does is it moves the entire button up here, and now you can tap show credits and it will work perfectly fine. Okay, so that's not bad. Let's get rid of this section with the button over here, but do remember the idea of a section in case you want to have different sections for different items. And the last thing I'm going to do is, well, I don't really like a button where it's a giant piece of text because I might want to add more things over here. What I want to do is I want to change this button so that it's actually an icon. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use a different type of button from what we've seen before. Let me just show you. It's very similar to navigation link. It's a button followed by a label. Okay, so I'm going to delete this code. I'm going to take this code over here and put show sheet into here. Okay, so now, right now, what I have is an invisible button where the label is empty, and the action over here, what it does is to show sheet when pressed. Okay, so this is a lot like navigation link, right? Navigation link has two closures. It's got this code block over here. Sometimes I call it a closure. This is what it does, and this is what it looks like. So very similar. For a button, this is what it does, and this is what it looks like. So down here, I'm just going to go and choose an icon. Tap on this. I'm just going to choose an icon. Maybe credits can be a person. I'm just going to search for person, and I'm just going to, yeah, there we go. Let's choose one of these. And as you know, this thing will actually give me the icon of a image system name. So it's going to use the SF symbol, create an image out of that, and put it in the corner, and we're going to tap on it, and there we go. Okay, so this is a little icon that you can put in the menu bar. All right, so that's it for now. So you do have enough to get started making a list app where you just create your list items one by one. And one of the things you might want to consider doing is you might want to make this into a separate page. Now, it's going to get a little bit complicated if you have a separate page for every single one of the destinations. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to make this a little bit more generic. We're going to have a way to list out all of the titles and all of the details inside a single data structure. And we're going to have a single view that shows up when you tap on it, just that the data will be passed over. Okay, so if you don't think you need that, all you want to do is have a simple app where you tap on this and something shows up. By all means, go ahead and customize this. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.